is how do you get such discrete differences to work in a singular building? Well, surely it's about the consideration of a structure that I would call repetition and difference. So this is building not about simple or dominant rationality or homogeneities. Neither is it separately about a completely heterogeneous arrangement of differences. It's basically the two together, and that's what we call repetition and difference. And then there's something that we've been able to do following that deconstruction of the whole workings of architecture. It gave people like me the opportunity to suggest things that weren't then thought of as being ridiculous. For example, the extension of a nice, quaint 19th century building in Queen Mary, University of London. So on one hand, we kind of don't do contextual, because it's sort of not what we do. But actually, on the other hand, no, of course we do. We certainly do contextual. It's just that we're picking up on different aspects of the context. So we're more picking up on the movement of the air around the building there, and the sound of the water on the canal where this building sits. It's rather a reductive model, is it not, to think about context as just responding to the sometimes rather mediocre buildings in the surroundings. And this is a building where me and my colleagues are very, very consciously thinking about music. Not just thinking about it, we're kind of playing music. We would just like Cany would say, we would kind of rat-a-tat-tat, and we would beat out a rhythm, and we would sing a note or a line, and it's not superficial. It's absolutely inherent to what we're trying to do. So I would talk about this facade in terms of rhythm. Of course I would. So the lines, the black lines on the grey form there are rhythmic, and they don't just happen to be there. They're very particular to create very much a kind of squeezing and a swelling and a oscillation effect. And the bright orange thing there in the centre is very much the interior of the building, which is bright orange, crying out of the window and revealing itself on the outside. Again, so Steve Reich was very important to me, because I think apart from a huge amount of enjoyment that I've got from listening to everything he's done, what's really happened here is that when I first heard his music, it was like looking in the mirror. I recognized a kind of aesthetic and theoretical direction, let's say. So I'm not using absolute terms, but there was a feeling of recognition in terms of aesthetic kind of prejudices, if you like. And this one's a nice kind of representation of how that stuff works. So this is phasing with clapping, and of course he's done phasing with everything, and we're doing phasing with architecture. So one person is in red, one person's in blue, and you just taking a beat off a bar every, say, 4 bars, I think it might be. The rests are particularly pregnant, I think. What I'd like to do now is to show you a project where ideas of not just a phasing, but the whole kind of Steve Reich's sort of influence on other things like pulsing and swelling and drifting have been really, really kind of with us right from the start of this project, and again through the interpretive phase, which is when we finish the project 2-3 years later, the stuff that we do in response to our own work. That's still with a kind of Reichian pair of glasses on. This is an axonometric, which is a kind of aerial view, but we've kind of sliced the project off at an oblique angle because that's the only way that we could reveal as much in one single image. So again, it's very much there's a completeness question about trying to show everything in one image. So this is a effectively a cinema and media centre for Birkbeck University. And what we're doing there primarily is providing in the centre where you see Marilyn, the projected cone is something we picked up on in the incident, and then we were juxtaposing other cones of projection against that. So one cone then kind of creates a window in the side of the building, revealing the London context. So it's like a juxtaposition between a real cone of projection and a virtual cone of projection. And then put in the context of some pulses. This is the site as a box or a container, an existing structure in London. And what we've done is to insert an object, and then for that to be subtracted away from the whole. And that object moves around or animates itself around the room. Again, it's a kind of an analogy to the process of cinema. So as the object moves, it changes colour and morphs itself and distorts itself, but also leaves a residue of itself in form of colour and material from where it was. And it's kind of ended up looking like that, which is kind of full of surprises for us. And there's the window reminding us that it's set in London, because that could be nowhere else. And I certainly wouldn't, I would never get my pencil out and draw that. It would just be kind of ridiculous, and well, I wouldn't think of it. So that's process. And this is one of a series of drawings where we're revisiting the project a couple of years later, just to kind of see it in different ways. And then what's been nice to for this has been a process. But when Donald contacted me to ask me to do this talk, I've actually put quite a lot of work into it. And that's because I've really got into it, because I've been given the opportunity to talk explicitly about architecture and music. So one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to find an experiment that would sort of demonstrate some of these processes in action. So this is this next thing is an example of phasing, and I sort of just did it this weekend. So in the Reichian tradition, there are kind of two elements, both animations. There's his music, which of course is phasing in its own way, two voices at the moment. And then there's always a point where one recognises the meter or the period of the elements. So in other words, you recognise repetition. So by now, we'll have seen Marilyn twice. So we know that one of the animations has gone around twice. There are two animations, one lasts 25 seconds and the other lasts 24 seconds. So what necessarily happens then is a gradual shifting relationship between the two. So at any moment, there is a unique graphic surface.